Alrighty then, it's time for another look at the technical discussion. This is the Monday afternoon update for the New England Weatherlife.ning.com. Of course, the classic warm spring air is streaming in. It's already March, guys. Look at this. 60-degree temps showing up in a lot of spots, a lot of interior southeast Mass, a lot of different big cities. Look at that. Just in the past hour, we've gone from 60 to 59 in the city of Providence, but we're still holding on to the 60-degree temps in Hartford, 60-degree temps through a lot of south coast of Connecticut. Nothing exceptional warm, really. No 65 or 70 degree stuff, but even then, hard to complain. You go further north and you can see how temps kind of drop off a little once you get further north into northern New England. You're 48 and 43 up and down the spines of the Berkshires. You're 57 in northern Worcester County. And what happens here is you head way further north into northern New England. You're talking about temps even into the 50s, well, even north of the Canadian border. You've got 42 though, so it's a relatively localized event. You head south further near Maine. You can see how in Maine the temps have cooled down a little. You're actually 38 up near Rangeley, Maine. You're 44 in Millinocket though. So it's not really an exceptionally warm event for everybody, but for a lot of folks, it's very warm. So I can show you this in a more prettier solution in the color contoured map, and you can see where the warmer temps are showing up in southeast New England. North and west, it's still pretty warm, but not quite as warm. And then you can see how the mountains of Maine are still cooled down to a pretty good degree. I take you out to, by the time we get to tomorrow, and warmer air is still going to be streaming in. It's really warm south and east of us, but we've still got pretty difficult to complain. It's colder in Maine, but temps should be around the same in southern New England, maybe cooled down a couple degrees. And by the time we get to Wednesday, of course, more air is still there, and then obviously even warmer further to the south. Now, of course, a lot of attention has gone to the storm coming up next week, and to me, earlier this morning, it was looking like, it's not looking too great. It's looking like it's going to be very warm out there, and this afternoon, we've seen the models coming in, and they've just continued the trend to a much warmer solution by the time we get to the late week. But even then, let's just take a look at the storm, because even if it falls as rain, then it's still going to be an event, right? Well, let's take a look at the precipitation from this from the WRF model, and it's down here, I believe. Is that it? Let's see. There's the precipitation. Let's take you out to let's see, Thursday morning, and here you can see the first little batches coming through. Heavier stuff out to the west and south, and I can show you the GFS for the time period because the WRF time's out here. Let's show you the precipitation plot, and let's go out to 72 hours. And here you can see what's happening. We've got the storm getting itself going in the south, and upper level lows interacting out in the Midwest, and by the time we get to Friday, basically Friday morning, rain is overspreading from west to east in New England. And I think the GFS, by the time we get to Saturday morning, it really just over deepens the system. I don't see the storm getting this strong with the crazy vortices all over the place. I think the GFS is just really over deepening the system. But what I can show you is the Canadian, because I think beyond Friday, the Canadian's done a good job with this event. And I know it's kind of hard for you to see, so I've been trying to zoom in here, but unfortunately I can't. So just try your best, guys. But to see, and here's New England, the little dot on the map. So you go through time, and you can see storm comes up, and basically it comes through more heavy rain through the day on Saturday. Basically it goes off the coast. Well, actually, what happens here is, and I can switch you back over to the GFS once it's done over deepening the system, because this is a better resolution, and it's going to give you a better idea of what's going on here. And you can see what's going on is basically the whole time is just an upper level low, and more areas of advection and moisture come into it. The upper level low is centered over New Jersey, and basically the upper level low pushes the moistures and precipitation as well as advection right into New England. And by the time we get to Sunday, it's basically retrograded. It's retrograding actually off the New Jersey coast. It's also weakening, so Sunday should bring a relative break in the heavy action, but by later Sunday night, what's going to be happening is there's a new low pressure center that's going to be developing over New England instead of offshore, and that means more heavy precipitation will be filling in Sunday night. That probably lasts into Monday morning. Now, of course, the whole thing I've been talking about, it's all falling as rain, unfortunately, guys, for all the snow lovers out there. Is there any chance of any temps below freezing? Well, let's take a look at the surface temperature probabilities. Let's go out to, let's see. So here you can see for Saturday morning, essentially what's going on here, it is just way too warm. You've got temps up into the 50s for southern New England. It's cold air is holding on further north, maybe the mountains of Maine, somewhat snow mixed in. And then you go for time by Sunday, more warm air is coming in, 50s, 40s more likely, but 50s possible. For Monday, what happens here is once the storm retrogrades, moves offshore, re-deepens with the new low pressure center probably over the Green Mountains. Colder air is going to be coming in because the low pressure center over the Green Mountains is going to be pulling in colder air from Canada. So essentially, that might mean some cold air gets pulled in, but even then, it's probably still going to be above freezing for Monday. And by the time we get to Monday night, the storm is all done, and we should be returning to a quieter pattern. Anything exciting to look at in the long range? Well, I think for next week, beyond the storm, there's, some things that we can look at and say that spring isn't totally on the way, that winter isn't totally over, although it's pretty much over when you look at something unlike this. This actually, what's happening here is, you go to the beginning of the loop, and what's happening is, it's very warm across a lot of the world. A lot of the world is just warm. This is, by the way, the northern hemisphere view. But what happens here is all the cold air is locked up over the Bering Sea. All the cold air is locked up over Scandinavia. You go through time, and the wind patterns actually shift that cold air into different areas. And that means the globe as a whole will be cooling over the next few weeks, even though New England's going to be warming up, even though the U.S. is going to be warming up, because we've got ridge building. But what happens here is the Omega block over James Bay, which is basically just a warm column of air over James Bay. We're going to see cold air damming into that. That's one of the areas of the world that will be seeing colder air coming in. Cold air dams in for James Bay. And so by the time you get to, let's see, Friday, basically that cold air is dammed into James Bay. You've got the ridge that's building, and you can see what happens here is the ridge actually turns into a trough. There's still ridging going on in the plains, but basically you've got cold air coming, well, not coming in, but you've got a lot of cold air up further north, and you've got the trough dipped in over the eastern states. So I think that could mean this would be a favorable scenario for cold air to be returning to New England by the time we get to the week after next. So this would be Thursday, March 18th, and you can see this is still way out, but the cold air does come into New England. So that's just a possibility I'm looking at. Basically, most of our guidance products are shifting into a warmer pattern, but even as we enter spring, there's certainly plenty of exciting things to look at. And just because the winter's over, even though winter is usually the meat of the game for most of New England, still got plenty to look at. Thunderstorms and tornadoes during the spring, hurricanes during the summer, and then by the time we get to the fall, the leaves turn, and then we're into the winter pattern again. So, folks, this is not the end of the world that the Earth is warming. It's completely normal, and unfortunately, it's going to be upon us. All right, that's it for now. See you guys later. It's Nick for the New England Weather Life.ning.com.